The journey to New York Airport was just another ordinary day for Barron Trump, but little did anyone know that this day would turn out to be the most challenging of his life. Barron, Melania Trump's son, who had now turned 18, was sitting near gate C-12 with his first-class ticket. He was looking at something on his phone, trying to avoid drawing attention to himself. He had always tried to shield himself from public scrutiny, but today, that intention was not going to be fulfilled. The airport buzzed with its usual chaos, travelers rushing to their gates, families saying tearful goodbyes, and the occasional announcement echoing through the terminal. Barron, however, sat quietly, his hoodie pulled low over his face, hoping to blend into the background. He was used to the stares and whispers that followed him wherever he went, but today, he just wanted to get on his flight without any fuss. The gate agent, a middle-aged man with a stern expression and a name tag that read Mr. Harris, glanced at Barron. His face showed suspicion, as if he didn't believe something. He approached Barron, and his voice carried a clear tone of doubt. "Excuse me, young man," he said. "Are you sure you're in the right boarding group?" Barron looked up and calmly replied, "Yes, I am. I have a first-class ticket." The gate agent stared at him intently, as if he didn't trust Barron. "Can I see your ticket?" he asked. Barron hesitated for a moment, but then handed over his boarding pass. The gate agent glanced at it, and his eyes widened when he saw the name Barron Trump. "Barron Trump," he read aloud, as if the name was a surprise to him. His expression grew even sterner. "Wait here," he said, and walked away to call his supervisor. Barron felt uncomfortable. He knew his last name often sparked curiosity, but today that curiosity had turned into a problem. He remained seated until the supervisor and the gate agent returned. The supervisor, a tall woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, approached Barron. "Sir, there seems to be an issue with your ticket," she said, her voice authoritative. "You'll need to step aside while we sort this out." Barron frowned. "What issue?" "I booked this ticket weeks ago." The supervisor ignored him and said, "We're handling it, sir. Please step away from the gate." Reluctantly, Barron left his seat and stood to the side. He knew this was happening because of his last name, but he didn't say anything. He had always been good at controlling his emotions, and today was no different. As he moved away from the gate, he noticed people staring at him. Some even took out their phones to take pictures. Barron felt uncomfortable, but kept his expression neutral. He had grown accustomed to the public's fascination with his family, but it never got easier. The supervisor led him to a small room where 2 airport security officers were waiting. Barron felt even more trapped, but remained silent. The room was dimly lit, with a single table and 2 chairs. It felt more like an interrogation room than a place to resolve a simple ticket issue. Inside the room, the officers began questioning him. "Sir, we're unable to verify your identity through the system. Do you have another form of identification?" Barron raised his eyebrows. "My passport is in my carry-on bag. You didn't even check it." The officer hesitated, but stood his ground. "Sir, this isn't just about ID. There are procedures we need to follow." Barron felt frustration creeping into his voice. "What procedures?" "I've flown through this airport dozens of times without an issue." The officer ignored him and said, "Sir, please cooperate. We're just doing our job." Barron felt even more frustrated. He knew this was happening because of his last name, but he didn't say anything. He kept his emotions in check, reminding himself that losing his temper would only make things worse. Meanwhile, outside the room, the gate agent and supervisor were discussing the situation. "Do you really think this is necessary?" the gate agent asked. "He's just a kid." The supervisor shook her head. "It's not about him being a kid. It's about following protocol. We can't afford to make exceptions, especially with someone like him." Back in the room, Barron sat quietly, his mind racing. He thought about calling his mother, but decided against it. He didn't want to worry her over what he hoped was just a misunderstanding. But as the minutes ticked by, he began to feel more and more uneasy. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the door opened, and the supervisor walked in. "Sir, we've resolved the issue with your ticket. You're free to board your flight." Barron stood up, relieved, but still frustrated. What was the issue in the first place? The supervisor hesitated. "There was a glitch in the system. It's been resolved." Barron knew she wasn't telling the whole truth, but he didn't press the matter. He just wanted to get on his flight and put this behind him. As he walked back to the gate, he noticed the stares and whispers had intensified. Some people were openly pointing at him, while others were taking pictures. Barron kept his head down, trying to ignore them. When he finally boarded the plane, he sank into his first-class seat, relieved to be away from the chaos. But as the plane took off, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. He knew this incident wasn't just about a ticket glitch. It was about his last name and the assumptions people made because of it. When Melania found out about the incident, she was furious. She had always been protective of her son, and the thought of him being treated unfairly was unbearable. She immediately called the airport and demanded an explanation. The next day, she accompanied Barron to the airport, determined to ensure that nothing like this would happen again. As they approached the gate, the same gate agent from the previous day recognized them and immediately looked nervous. "Ma'am, how can I help you?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Melania's expression was stern. "I want to speak to your supervisor. Now." The supervisor arrived a few minutes later, her demeanor much less confident than the day before. "Ma'am, how can I assist you?" Melania didn't mince words. "Yesterday, my son was humiliated and treated unfairly because of his last name. I want to know what you're going to do to ensure this doesn't happen again." The supervisor stammered. "Ma'am, it was just a misunderstanding. We've already taken steps to prevent it from happening again." Melania wasn't satisfied. "A misunderstanding? You held my son in a room and questioned him like he was a criminal. That's not a misunderstanding. That's discrimination." The supervisor looked down, unable to meet Melania's gaze. "We're truly sorry, ma'am. It won't happen again." Melania's voice softened but remained firm. "I hope not, because if it does, I won't hesitate to take this further." As they walked away, Barron felt a sense of relief. He knew his mother would always stand up for him, no matter what. But he also knew that this incident was a reminder of the challenges he would always face because of his last name. The incident didn't end there. Melania took to social media to share what had happened, sparking a wave of support and outrage. People from all over the world shared their own stories of discrimination and called for change. In the days that followed, the airport issued a formal apology and announced new training programs for their staff to prevent similar incidents in the future. But for Barron, the experience was a turning point. It made him realize that he couldn't always hide from the spotlight, and that sometimes he would have to stand up for himself. As he boarded his next flight, Barron felt a newfound sense of confidence. He knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he had the strength to face them. And he knew that, with his family by his side, he would always have the support he needed. The story of Barron's experience at the airport became a powerful reminder of the importance of treating everyone with respect and fairness, regardless of their name or background. It inspired countless people to speak out against discrimination and to stand up for what's right. In the end, Barron and Melania's journey was about more than just a flight. It was about resilience, courage, and the power of standing up for what you believe in. And it was a reminder that, no matter who you are, you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect.